All right, everybody, welcome back. This is October 19th. Today is a Thursday. We are going to look at continuing the propaganda discussion that we kind of finished or started yesterday at the end of class. And we're going to look at some more examples today. And then there's some book work we're going to do which leads America into, instead of not only ideologically trying to pick a side during the war, but also looking at the events that kind of pushed us into the cliff. So it's, the bell ringer for today is, would you agree or disagree with the following statement? Trench warfare was one of the worst experiences any soldier could encounter in World War I. So agree and disagree and then tell me why you believe that. All right. We got some, primary sources up there with trench warfare. Also earlier on Canvas, if you went back there earlier, there are some videos up about trench warfare and some of the technology that existed. That can help you answer that question. So answer that question the best you can, and then we'll move on. After the bell ringer, what we did was we looked at some advertising or some propaganda that was put out there during World War I. Obviously, this is the one picture that people look at the most. We have the German hat up here, the military. This is a German Army helmet, at least the decorative German Army helmet. Obviously, King Kong is being portrayed. The club here says Kultur, which means killer in German. And then you have the damsel in distress, the woman who is essentially representing freedom, democracy, and anything else like that. So this is kind of the metaphor for what Germany is representing versus what freedom and democracy are. So Americans are definitely, obviously against the Germans here from a propaganda standpoint. Definitely against them. Next, we have Uncle Sam here on the right and the British counterpart to the left. Obviously, getting individuals, looking at them directly, and giving them that sense of accomplishment and also sense of pride to go join for the military. Next, we have two here. One is that don't wait for the draft, the volunteer. The reason why this one's important is when you get drafted into the military, you don't really have much of a choice in terms of where you're going. If you volunteer, however, volunteering is something that is where you can actually choose what happens to you in the military. So definitely very impactful of volunteering. This is the way the American military could get soldiers into the Army or into other branches of service to kind of round out the numbers that they needed to be prepared for war. Obviously, we're not in it yet, but we're just preparing for it. Next, helping to deliver the goods, obviously with the shells that are needed to launch off the cannons, and you have cannons in the back here of how they can be launched as artillery, mostly for the naval vessels at that time, but again, need to support the Navy, at least the naval vessels there. All right. Next one, wonderful opportunity for you, U.S. Navy, inquire at the recruiting station. Again, here's a picture of a soldier or a sailor, looking happy to go off into the Navy and help out. And then you have the one here, Food for France. Obviously, this picture gets very, very desperate. Looking at what looks like to be a soldier here, being fed by a young girl who looks like all she's wearing is rags. But just kind of showing the desperate situations that the French are in at that moment, as to how disheveled this war is making their country. So definitely something you can take a look at as propaganda. So we also watched a movie here today on the different advertising techniques. So we looked at some of these questions after the video. Actually, if you go to Canvas, the video actually is shown there. I actually have it on the previous day's stuff to look at propaganda. It is right here. So if you look at the 18th instead of the 19th, you can see the video and watch that in regards to what kind of propaganda was used in the U.S. And you can look at some of these questions too. If you want to pause, watch the video, then come back to these questions and kind of answer them on your own. Why was it utilized and important, and what were the different forms of propaganda used? All right. After that, we looked onward onto the next session. Now, I handed out a packet in class. If you were not here today, you have two choices. I have plenty of packets here for everyone that missed to make sure you get one. I also have packets online if you want to print them out on Canvas. If you go here to Canvas, I have the Chapter 12 notes packet. This packet will pretty much encompass everything we will go over by the end of the war. So, this is the notes packet we will use. Answer the first 4 questions just for today's topic only, and use the book pages that are described on there. If you go to my PowerPoint again, you can see that 421 to 424 in your book will cover how U-boats were deployed by Germany and how that begins to affect the Americans. These are the 4 questions that are on that section of the notes packet. But the very first 4, what is American public opinion of the German U-boat? The U-boat is a submarine, but the Germans called it the Unterseeboot. Essentially, it was a undersea boat, which we call a submarine. So what is American public opinion of that? How did the sinking of the Lusitania change or bolster their opinions about the U-boat? Again, read through that, find the section on Lusitania, find out what happened, and then you can kind of get an opinion, better idea of what happened there, why Americans felt that way. And then you have, how did the Sussex Pledge change German tactics, and what is the Zimmermann Note requesting? These last two here are very, very general questions, but they play a major role into why America ends up getting involved. Yeah, that's a spoiler alert there, but why does America get involved, and why is it important for Americans to get involved in this war? So something that you can take a look at and see why this might have gotten Americans much more upset. Because through the propaganda, Americans are looking for the right opportunity to get involved, because Americans are driving more towards the war. There are more people getting out there to support the cause of the war, at least for the Allies, the British and the French. But nothing has happened yet to push us in. I used the metaphor in class today that you have, that one, you're sitting on the edge of a diving board, and especially a higher diving board that you're kind of nervous about jumping off, and then you're kind of thinking about it. You want to, that's why you're up there. However, you're still hesitant to make that last move. Well, this is kind of the war at this point. America's still hesitant to get involved. We're there. We kind of want to take the plunge into the war because we've gotten to that point. We have propaganda. We have the preparedness movement. We have all these gears getting put into place to help make the chain of events occur, but we don't have those events yet to get us fully involved. What you'll find out here in this section when you read through this, the way that America gets involved during World War I. All right? So if you have any questions about this, answer these questions. We started going over, I think, the first two of these today. All right? But after those first two, we kind of just pause after going over those first two, and we'll get these other two tomorrow. All right? So if you have any questions, don't be afraid to get to me and ask me a question. Appreciate it. Have a good day.